Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, and we've been going live to share information that families need to know to choose great schools for their kids and navigate all the changes that happened because of the pandemic. And today we have a new post on the blog. It's actually a guest post written by a Brooks Lone Star Academy parent named Kat Gomez. Now, Kat couldn't join us for a video, but we have two wonderful Brooks Lone Star parents here to share their stories about having their students at Brooks Lone Star Academy. So with us today is Elizabeth Sotelo, and she has a kindergartner and a first grader at Brooks Lone Star. And then Vanessa Simpson has a first grader and a fourth grader at Brooks Lone Star. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So I guess, okay, I'll start with Elizabeth and then go to Vanessa. I want to ask you both the same question, which is, how did you decide that you needed to research schools for your family and not just kind of do the default?
Sure. So my husband and I both went to not the regular public school, and it just had such a good impact, just a positive impact on our lives, that just was long lasting. And so we wanted to give our kids the best possible education we could. We wanted to make sure that they were learning things that we felt were important. We wanted, science is super important. I know it's science and technology will become even more important in their lifetimes. We want to give them a good background and just kind of foundation in that. And, I didn't really know about charter schools when, I was younger, but I knew some moms that had their kids at charters. And that's really what kind of got me interested in them, and they just had such great experiences. And I was like, this is what could be we could find a great school for our kid. And then we actually tried a different charter that lots of people love, and it just wasn't right for us. And I realized we needed to find a school where my daughter felt super welcome and comfortable, so that she could thrive and really learn. And so we brought my son to Brooks Lone Star also, because we were very happy with the community there and with the education that we were getting, and there are just so many good things. But sorry, I kind of went on a tangent.
No, that's good. Actually, I want to follow up with one question for Elizabeth, and then Vanessa, I want to bring you in. But Elizabeth, how did you first hear about Brooks Lone Star Academy?
It was actually through one of the parents. So one of the parents, she is an old friend of mine, and her kids were at Brooks Lone Star, or are at Brooks Lone Star. And I just valued her opinion. It was coming from I was already not happy where we were. And so we were looking at moving the following year, and we were actually able to move in at the middle of the semester, January. To Brooks Lone Star, and so that was nice.
Yeah,
because I wasn't sure if we would be able to do that, but yeah. I mean, Brooks Lone Star they're very accommodating. They always work with you to it was great. Where at our other school it was big, and even for a charter there were lots of students there, and so just getting that personal attention was hard. And it wasn't hard at Brooks Lone Star. And that was so nice. It was so nice just to be heard and know that your requests and concerns are answered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least they try their best, of course, not everything will be, they can't accommodate every request, but they will definitely try their best.
Yeah. Yeah. And just feeling heard is so important. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Okay. Well, Vanessa, I want to ask you kind of the same question. So when did you decide that you wanted to do research to find maybe a different school or school of choice for your family? And how did you first hear about Brooks Lone Star?
So we moved here from Washington State in 2018, and my search started before we moved. I knew that I wanted something different. My son had been in a public school, and it was great. They had the interbaccalaureate curriculum, which is amazing. But I knew that I wanted to find something similar for him. When we first moved here, he was in a public school, which was a great school, but we just felt like we were kind of just a number. We didn't feel connected to a community. And so my search resumed. And during all of that time, we decided to move closer to downtown. And so I knew that I wanted my kids to be in some sort of charter school or private school situation. And so I had gotten a few recommendations and just felt really like those recommendations would not be a good fit for my kids. And I got on Google and put in San Antonio charter schools. And I found all of Brooks. And what brought me to Brooks Lone Star was really like the location and just seeing, like on their website, they have so much information, and I'm an information, so I have to know all the things, and being able to go on their website and easily access everything was huge for me. And then we also did a Zoom school tour, because this was last year. I think it was in May. And so the pandemic was sort of still new and we just didn't know what was going on. And three of one of the school administrators, a teacher, one of the teachers, and Principal Lamont came on, answered all of our questions. And we just felt like it was going to be the perfect fit for us. And it has been so far. It has been really great. It really we feel connected, and we feel like part of the community every time I go and pick up my kids or drop them off. The people there, they call us by name and they ask us how we're doing, and it's so welcoming. And my kids just feel right at home. They love it.
Yeah,
Can I add
that's
something?
beautiful. Oh yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
So
Yeah.
we had so Brooks Lone Star has lots of events. I mean, not so much now because of COVID, but we went to one of the events, and we had gone a couple weeks before to visit the school for a tour. And the principal remembered my kids' names when we went to the event. And I was so impressed. I was like, I'm pretty sure the principal at my daughter's previous school didn't even know her name, even though, and I was like a room parent and, just helping out a lot at the school. And I was like, that just helped me feel like we're important here. I want my kids, I want them to feel like their voices matter, and they would matter they do matter at Brooks Lone Star.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna pop his name up on screen. Barry Lemaitre. This is the principal at Brooks Lone Star. He is very special. And like pre-pandemic, I got to go to some events. Like when they were kind of welcoming people to the new campus, because I mean the schools had different locations, but Vanessa, you mentioned that it is near downtown, so it's kind of in between Loop 410 and downtown, right? But it's really easy to get to from a lot of different parts of town. So I remember visiting that new campus and like getting to see like the sensory hallways with like the stickers on the floor and stuff. It just makes you want to like jump and skip in the hallway, and just how welcoming Principal Lemaitre is to families. And so it totally makes sense, like knowing him, knowing his personality, and like back when SA Charter Moms was having like little school fair events, like the Bruce Lone Star table was always very dynamic. Like parents would come and he would be there, and there was always like a highlight of the school fairs of like just seeing how the Brooks team would interact with visitors to the fair. So what you're telling me about like that human connection and remembering people's names and making people feel welcome, I know he does that. I know his team does that. So, yeah, I just want to put his name up on screen though, because like it's a little unusual spelling, and but it's on the website. Like Vanessa said, the website is full of details. So it's useful. Like if you're an information hound like Vanessa, or like as I am too, like it feels good to be able to read up on stuff. So I wanted to ask, let's see, I'll go to Vanessa and then Elizabeth. So my next question is about like sort of what are the aspects of like Brooks Lone Star has a specific vision, with like the dual language and things like that. If you could comment on like what aspects of that resonate with you the most, that you're like most grateful for, and how it impacts your family.
Oh, I am so grateful for the programs that they have there. One of the things that really stood out to me initially was all of the like activity time that they get. So they get like outside play, or if weather, depending on the weather. And then they also get a pretty good chunk of gym time. And so for me, I have all boys. I have 4 boys actually. And so my boys do not sit still at all. So that was something that was huge for me. And then, of course, being in San Antonio and having so many Spanish speakers here, friends, neighbors coming from, I grew up in a hometown, where there weren't many Spanish speakers. And so Spanish was not something that I was taught as a kid. And I feel like it's such a value for us in our city, in our state, and in our country right now, for our kids to be able to speak Spanish. And I think that it's just wonderful that they get 2 classes a day in Spanish, and they love it. My first grader comes home and he tries to speak to me in Spanish, and he's trying to teach me words. It's absolutely adorable, and we really love that aspect of it.
That's so sweet. It sounds like the kids really embrace it and have a lot of enthusiasm for it.
Oh, they do. They love it.
Yeah. Elizabeth, is the dual language aspect, is that important to your family as well?
It is. Both my daughter is in dual language, and my son will be in it next year. And it's important for me because, like, I'm Hispanic, but I didn't really learn Spanish growing up, and I had to learn it as I was like in high school, but then also as an adult. Like, just in different jobs that I've had to use Spanish quite a bit, and it's just so helpful. So I want to make sure that the kids understand the value of like learning multiple languages. That a lot of people around the world know lots of languages, and I want them to know that all languages are like important. There's not like one language above another, and that there's people all over the world that speak multiple languages, and that. So I wanted that, from like a young age, them to understand that, and so it's important to me for sure for them to learn 2 languages, and then hopefully one day maybe that'll encourage them to pick up another one.
Yeah. Elizabeth, are there other aspects about the Brooks culture that you really
Yes.
like? You mentioned like lots of playtime.
Yeah, so it's so flexible. They work with your kid to make sure that like my kids are virtual this year, so it's not quite the same as being in person last year, but like being able, they'll just work with your kid and to accommodate so that they can like learn the way they need to learn. And so that I feel like it's just so unique and important, right? So they want every kid to thrive. And that's what I love about it. So this year they added in mindful moments, which I'm super excited about. So it's like social emotional learning. So they're learning like breathing techniques and different techniques on how to deal with their emotions, and they do like yoga poses. It's just about being mindful and present in the moment. And those are skills that they're going to need their whole lives. So it's great that they're learning them now. I mean, I feel like that's something that they'll stick with. They have a social emotional learning coach for all of the Brooks schools. And so, I mean, they're having like an event for parents to give parents like, social emotional learning tips and stuff for us to, there's so much. This year and a half have been so stressful. What are some things to help, make that easier for us? And so that's something that's really important to me, that they were able to adapt also. So like that was a concern coming from parents, like at the end of last year, what can we do to help our kids go through this? Because it was so different, right? How can we help them manage change well? And then they brought in mindful moments. That was them listening to parents' concerns and then addressing them. So that was so nice. And then they do like lots of science, which I think is important. And they have like a Lego time, or it's like a STEM time. And my kids love that kind of stuff. And so I just it helps make school fun. And I think that's important. They need to have fun to learn also. I mean, not everything's going to be fun, but we need some engaging moments to get the kids excited. And I like that about Brooks Lone Star.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like, yeah, they're like the curriculum is rich. They're getting lots of good stuff like with Spanish language. They're learning subjects in Spanish. They have time to learn STEM, but it's through play. They have time to move around, and so they don't have to just sit still when they have energy. and yeah, and a theme I keep hearing is about that they're listening to parents. And so actually, we did a feature last summer. We talked to Paula Turner, who's with the district office at Brooks, and she demonstrated like how mindful moments work. So actually, I should mention, like in the description of this video, there's a link. It'll take you to Kat Gomez's guest post, and in that we have links to other posts about Brooks on the SU Charter Mom site, including the one that Paula Turner wrote about the mindfulness moment. So I'm glad you brought that up, Elizabeth. And anybody who wants to explore mindful moments at home can do that using the tips that Paula put in the guest post. So thank you. Well, I want to ask each of you to share like you've already given some great examples and story, but if you could focus in on like a particular instance where you felt like this is working, like we belong here. This Brooks Lone Star is working for my kid. So how about let's ask Vanessa first and then Elizabeth.
So I really could tell within, I think probably the first 2 to 3 weeks of them, my boys went to in person when it opened up. I think it was in September that it opened up. And within those 2 to 3 weeks, it was like seeing two totally different kids. My kids used to come home from school and they were drained. They were moody. They would tell me they don't want to go back to school. They think that school is boring and just all of these things. They really were not happy. And within those first 2 to 3 weeks, I would pick them up and they would bounce in the car. They would hop in their seats. They could not wait to tell me about all of the things that they did. My first grader has Mr. Elizondo this year, who is fantastic. And when we were doing virtual, he would tell the kids, all right, give that big, beautiful brain of yours a kiss. And he still carries that with him, and it's such a positive.
Oops, I think I might have lost audio. Oh, sorry, Vanessa, we lost audio for just a second, but we got, I think we got, it was just for a moment, but you were talking about how positive, like how excited they are when you pick them up and then how happy they are to share.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just fantastic. It's their moods are completely different than their attitude towards school.
Yeah. Yeah. Elizabeth, was there a moment for you when it's a nervous feeling to change schools for your kid, but once your daughter was at Brooks Lone Star, was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is working. I'm glad she's here.
Yes. So at our old school, I think it was just very stressful for my daughter. She's just like such a rule follower, and they had a lot of rules, which good. I mean, it definitely works for some families, and it just wasn't right for us. And by the end of the week, like we were on Fridays, like every Friday was like, it was just bad. It was a bad day. And I was like, that's when it kept happening, I knew it wasn't the right place for my daughter. So I mean, our old school, right? And so when she's moved last year into Brooks Lone Star, she was happy and excited, and we didn't have this like meltdown on Friday from all the stress of the week. And that's when I knew I was like, I was just so happy and thankful that we were able to move in the middle of the year, that we found a place that she felt like she belonged and was so welcoming. Like it was just the parents are great. And I know like we'll get back to all the events soon, and we'll have that great sense of community and all these community events. And I just knew it was right, just looking at my daughter and seeing the transition.
Yeah. Actually, that leads really well into the next question I was planning to ask, which is, what are you looking forward to? So it sounds like events, Yeah, because like they used to have like movie nights and just like because there's that open space behind the school. So what kinds of things are you looking forward to? I'll ask Elizabeth and then Vanessa.
I can't wait to have um, that sense of community. So we'd have like events maybe like once a month almost, or maybe not quite once a month, but and that was great. That it's almost like a sense of like fellowship, like between the all the parents. And at other schools, my kids went to private school for pre-K before, and there just wasn't that like like we all felt welcome. Like my husband and I felt welcome by the other parents. There wasn't like judgment or it was just like, we're glad you're here. Come, be part of our community. And so I can't wait for those events to happen again.
Yeah. Vanessa, what are you looking forward to in the future?
Definitely the events as well. But next year, I will have all 4 of my boys in school at Brooks starting pre-K. So I'm really looking forward to that. Like I said, I've got 4, so it has been pretty wild couple of years. We're really excited about all 4 kids being in the same school, and I think that is something that they're really going to treasure. Maybe not right away, but when they look back on it, being a part of all being in the same school and part of this community, I think that they'll someday realize how lucky they are.
Yeah, that's life-changing when like your youngest are at school. I remember that. And that is cool. Like, because they'll have like, they'll have some of the same teachers, maybe not at the same time, but and some of the same traditions that they can share and talk about.
Oh yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to. It looks like we have another visitor on our screen. Let's see. Let me add. Okay. So Nicole, are you a Brooks Lone Star parent as well?
I am. My son is a first grader right now with Mr. Elizondo as well.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
We're
great.
all first grade moms.
That's so cool. I'm so glad you could join us too. Well, I guess
I was
let me
sitting
give
in
you
a Zoom room waiting to get in, and Mr. Lamette was like, "Try this one." So I didn't know about the StreamYard.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you could join us, and I'm sorry that there was a mix-up with the link. So maybe I can like ask you a couple of questions that I asked Elizabeth and Vanessa. One of the things I asked them was like, how did you know you wanted to exercise school choice, and how did you first hear about Brooks Lone Star?
You know what? We were going to a private pre-K right down the street from the Brooks Collegiate Academy off of Vance Jackson. And we were kind of late to the game, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, where are we going to go? So we originally were going to go interview or check out Brooks Collegiate, but we just so happened to run into Mr. Lamette because they were using the temporary buildings over there. And so when he opened the door for us at Brooks Collegiate, and he introduced himself and he said, well, let me show you to where you need to be. He said, I don't work at this school. And I was like, but you have a Brooks shirt on. So he explained the difference. And then when I asked him the difference with the schools, and he kind of told me the difference between Brooks Lone Star and Brooks Collegiate, I looked at my husband and I was like, is it rude to ditch this open house and go follow him to his? Because in that, honestly, like 3 or 4 minutes that he walked us from point A to point B to go to the other open house, he'd kind of had me sold already on, the curriculum, the way they were going to run their school. And then honestly, just himself, just how loving and caring and open and funny he was. And then what sold me on it was a new campus. They had the Spanish immersion. They were a small school because at the time my son had never been in class with more than 7 children. So I was really kind of concerned about him going to a public school that's going to have 25, 30 and not being old enough yet to be able to find his way. So honestly, from that time that I met Mr. Lamette, we ditched that open house and we hightailed it to the Brooks Lone Star, which at the time was just under construction. And we met a couple of the teachers. heard more about the school, toured what was going to be our school, and we were sold. We signed up immediately, and even from that point forward of it just being an empty lot and just construction, we were in constant contact with somebody from the school all the way through, welcoming us and saying how happy you are that you're going to be coming to our new campus. And, so we started going to the events that Elizabeth was talking about. They started doing them before school even started, so we could kind of get, a little bit familiar. And some of those moms and families that we've met, we're still friends with. I mean, we're only in first grade, but, we formed very fast relationships, and we're all still friends to this day. And I think Elizabeth had mentioned, I think the teacher and the staff is what sold us. And then once you get in there and get into school, the parents is what I think will honestly keep people coming back and coming back, because in just a couple of years, I think we've built a really good community of parents and friendships there that hopefully will follow us as parents and our children throughout their school career.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love the story about ditching one open house for another, but Barry has that effect on people. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. But you really need to trust your instincts about these things, and being able to meet people is great. I mean, let's see, Vanessa, did you mention you do like a Zoom tour of campus? But it's great that like things are opening up and you'll be able to do more in-person stuff. Wow. So Nicole, I'm so glad you could join us and share, it sounds like the parent community is a big impact on like why you really want to keep your kids at Brooks Lone Star.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of worried what happens when we all kind of graduate from this location. Because, I mean, I know it happens and people grow or whatever, but I'm like, oh, I just want to keep my families together. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Remind me, through 8th grade? Does it go through 8th grade? Is that how far?
No, I mean, right now, Brooks Lone Star is only going, correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth or Vanessa, through 5th, correct? Right now?
Okay. My bad. Okay, trust the moms. Okay, through 5th. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
we have the room to grow. So we've discussed it because we all kind of want to stay together. So we pushed Mr. Lamette, and they said, well, we're a very new campus, so we need to get the enrollment up. But obviously, the second year being COVID year was not a great year for that. But if we can grow it in the next few years, they originally got this space and the acreage so that we can grow if we need to and want to. So we have the space and the potential for sure.
Yeah, well, that's part of what we try to do with San Antonio Charter Moms is like highlight schools that are doing a great job and that are taking really good care of kids and families and building a strong community. And it's like Elizabeth said that they heard about it through word of mouth. So the happy Brooks Lone Star parents can keep telling their friends and keep rounding up more families. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me wait. I'm going to change up the screen a little bit here. There we go. Okay. Well, as I kind of we're coming to a close soon, but I wanted to ask each of you, why do you think it was important that you are able to exercise school choice, that you weren't just limited to a particular school based on where your house was? So how about, let's see, looking at my screen, let's do Vanessa and then Elizabeth and then Nicole. Okay, so yeah, Vanessa, y'all were, moving closer to downtown as you were getting to know San Antonio, and you were able to exercise school choice.
Oh yeah, it was hugely important for us. Like I said, my oldest son had gone to a public school in Washington State that had the interbaccalaureate program, which is a fantastic program. And I saw what kind of impact that had on him and our neighbors who had gone to a couple of different schools. And for my kids and us being in a new city, I didn't want to just throw them out there and go, all right, well, let's hope that this is good for you. I mean, these are things that are going to make a lifelong impact on my kids. And so it was so important to be able to find somewhere where we were able to grow a community where my kids feel not only safe, but loved. They feel cared for at this school. And, I grew up in a public school in a tiny town, and there was really no choice. You just went to the school that you were assigned to. And I feel like if we'd had a choice, maybe my education would have been different. Maybe I would, have gone on to do something different. But I want my kids to have all the tools that they need to succeed throughout their life. And that's why being able to choose, even from pre-K, kindergarten, elementary school is huge. I still remember my elementary school teachers, my, kindergarten teacher. She made a huge impact on me. Even as an adult, I still think about her. So school choice is hugely important. It affects the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's really true. Okay, so I'm going to put Elizabeth, you're on deck. So can you tell me about, so you were able to exercise school choice like multiple times, right? Like you tried one choice school and it wasn't the right fit, which happens. And then you found out about Brooks Lone Star and then it is the right fit.
Yeah, so I think it's important. I didn't want my kids to go to the public school where, there's so many like agendas at play and bureaucracy, and I wanted them to find a place where they felt welcome and also had the flexibility to be able to like learn different things like dual language, extra science. Like that's not like a thing that happens in public school. My mom was a public school teacher for a very long time, and that's not like something they get every day in young grades. And being able to have extra recess when they're little, just all of these great things that just allow them to have a better school experience and learn easier, rather than having to stick with all these, rules that like a public school would have to follow. And so that's why it was important to me, just finding a place where they would get the best education that we could give them, And so I think it's so important to be able to give that option to parents, because every kid's going to learn differently. And there's a right school out there for everyone. And it might not be, your neighborhood school.
Yeah. Well, that's you make a really good point that charter schools, like the open enrollment charter schools, the in-district charter schools, they have the flexibility to offer. They can change up the curriculum. They can change up the school day, right? How much time is on recess? How much time is on STEM? Choosing to teach in a different instructional language, like Spanish. They have that flexibility. The challenge is for parents to find the schools that are the right fit, right? And SA Charter Moms tries to help. Vanessa used Google. Elizabeth, you use word of mouth. But the message you said, which is there is the right school out there, and it might not be your neighborhood school, but just keep trying and you'll find it and your kids will thrive. Okay, I'm going to pop Nicole up on screen here. Nicole, I want to ask you the same question. So tell us about why school choice was important for your family.
You know what, I honestly, until I started kind of getting to that spring before kindergarten, I didn't really know the term school choice. I didn't know any families that were at charter. I'd heard of Montessori. I knew nothing about charter schools at all. My sister is a teacher up in Seattle, Washington. And I know charter schools, I think, always got a bad rap if you talk to a public school teacher because of funding and stuff I don't totally understand. But when it came time, I started reaching out more and kind of asking my parents, because, my son is my one and only child. So I was, like I said, late to the game. So I just started researching when I needed to and didn't realize that there were choices out there. And then didn't realize, kind of like Vanessa and Elizabeth had said, that you don't have to go to your neighborhood school. I thought, honestly, all this time that that was going to be our only choice. And then once we were presented with, it's time to go to kindergarten, I was like, I just don't know how he was going to navigate, between 25, 30 kids, and he's never been around more than 7 or 8. So that's why I was really desperate to try to find a different solution. And, I've always said if for some reason he feels once he's older and has gained the confidence and the skills that I think he needs to make a decision, and if he chooses to go to a public school, that's fine. But while I was choosing, I wanted to find a good fit that was kind of like the other mom said, that was going to be challenging, but yet kind and safe, loving, but then also somewhere, which I think Mr. Lamette does a great job and the staff does a great job, to where us parents have a voice too. And like you said, the curriculum and programs that we bring on board, that we can have a say so too, because some of my closest mom friends on the block are public school. So I hear them complaining weekly, and that they know, because some of them work in the school district, that nothing's going to change. And so I like the fact that Mr. Lamette does coffee with the principal, and we can talk to him about things that we were feeling or maybe are needing, especially during this COVID year. I know the last coffee with the principal I'd mentioned, is there any way to help some of our kids that have been Zooming this whole year to adjust when it's time for them to go back in the fall? And, because their mentality is totally different now, and it's going to be a lot. It was, rough on all of us at-home parents, but it's going to be tough to get them back in to where their mind is ready to be in school. And I know we already have some of the therapies and sessions coming up. I forget what they're called. Elizabeth or Vanessa, y'all might remember what. I think they just had one yesterday. To help the students and the parents navigate their mental health. Do you remember what that was about?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the Mindful Moments Coordinator for the district. Yeah.
Okay. So Paula Turner is leading that.
Yeah.
She's
we're going
to
helping us have the tools. So basically kind of having counseling available throughout the summer in case, because let's be honest, our kids are tired of seeing us and us having to be the counselor, the teacher, the mom. And so, to know that we have those services available throughout the summer to get our kids prepared and mentally ready. Parents and kids as well, that we have the help because we asked for it. We asked for the help, and then a week and a half later, we got the notice that here you go. We're going to roll out some help that will be available periodically throughout the summer for all of us, our whole family, to get ready to get back into school and get back, to quote unquote normal, and then also to help our kids deal with the new normal and to help the parents deal with the new normal too. So that was another thing that I really appreciate, that, from the get-go. I think one of Mr. Lamette's things was, he said, this is your school, and he wants us to be vocal. So I appreciate that he doesn't just say that as a tagline, that he really means it, and, he follows through with what he says.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great example of the school being responsive to what parents are asking for, and then having the team, right? Like Paula Turner, to provide the kind of support that the families are wanting, as far as like mental health and counseling support and things like that. So that's a wonderful example. Okay, well, so I always try to make sure before I close out at the end to give, if parents have been listening and they're like, wow, this Brooks Lone Star place sounds great. Like, I want to make sure that they know how to reach the school. So it's called Brooks Lone Star Academy, and the website is lonestar.brooksacademy.org. And as Vanessa mentioned, the website is very detailed. There's lots of information. There's like a form to reach out to them. There's like the phone number for the main office. But Principal Barry Lemaitre is an extraordinary person, very dynamic, great communicator, and very caring to the school community. So getting in touch with him is a great way to learn about the school. I'm going to pop up brooksacademy.schoolmint.net is the actual application, but I recommend going to the school website first because the application just kind of throws at you a bunch of questions, and it's better to get a feel for the school first on the official school website. So, do y'all have any tips about families wanting to learn more? I know that's more of a Barry question, but if you have advice to parents who are researching Brooks Lone Star or thinking about applying.
I mean, just visit the school. So they're doing in-person tours now, right? I mean, and you can just see the sensory hallway. You can see the artwork up on the walls and the playground. And it's just when you see it and you're there, and especially if it's during school and there's kids in the classroom, it's really special.
Yeah. Vanessa, Nicole, do you have any tips for families who are looking into Brooks Lone Star Academy?
I think I know a lot of us check the, your site, San Antonio Charter Moms. And so I always try to respond, if throughout the day I can see something and respond. And I always offer and say, please feel free to, private message me if, because I know sometimes people are just oh, well, the principal's just saying that or the teacher's just saying that. But I'm if you want to talk to a real parent, and I've told Barry before too, Mr. Lamette, that, if you ever get a parent that's kind of do you have anyone that I can speak to that's a parent? I always tell him that he can throw my number out there, and I'm happy to talk to any parents that, want our perspective, not a principal or a teacher or staff members. So, I think there's a good handful of us that are always, open to talk to other parents, privately or whatever, if they feel more comfortable, instead of in school or, in front of a staff member or something. They can always reach out to us.
Yeah. Vanessa, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I was going to say the exact same thing. SA Charter Moms. Yeah, I've jumped on some of the threads too, and shared our experience. And I know of a couple of moms who decided to apply to attend Brooks Lone Star just from some of those conversations. So yeah, I would say exact same thing. SA Charter Moms has been such a great, helpful resource for so many of us moms out there trying to make a choice on where to send our babies.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I'm so grateful for all of you taking the time to share your experience at Brooks Lone Star and your school choice journey. And I'm looking forward to the world reopening. I'd love to visit campus. I hope I can come crash one of those events and maybe give you all a bunch of hugs.
Well, hey, there's one on Saturday, so
yay! That sounds great. Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for
having us.
Okay, thanks, y'all.